impressions on the game.
Yeah. Uh, Tough loss for us on the road to a good ETSU football team, and I want to credit Coach Healy and his staff and team for putting together 4 quarters of good football. Really, the only mistake they made was an interception on the first drive of the game when DJ Hamilton drove downhill, made a great play in the slot with an interception. And they got 3 points. I'm sorry, we got 3 points out of it, and then they played clean football the rest of the way. We, on the other hand, did not. We had too many self-inflicted wounds in all 3 phases of the game, and it felt like we let one get away from us. They're a good football team, but they did not get our best from us. And when it comes to winning football games, it takes preparation, it takes physicality, execution, and you got to play for 60 minutes. And we could not check all those boxes Saturday night. So we had a miserable 4.5 hour bus ride back home to Elon. And because of the weather delay, we got back to the facility just before 5 a.m., but came back to the facility later in the afternoon, cleared the film, learned from our mistakes, and turned the page to Hampton.
Got a question for you this morning from Tiffany Williams. Go ahead, Tiffany.
Good morning, Coach. What do you think has to improve up front and execution to finish drives with points?
Yeah, so they played more physical than we did up front offensively. They were able to generate pressure on our quarterback, sacked us 4 times, pressured us 11 times. So, that was an issue. We did not execute well on third down. We had trouble converting third downs. We turned it over twice, failed to convert on 2 4th down conversions, one on the goal line, where if you don't get it, they've got the ball at the 1, but, we had a bad snap over our head. Now they've got the ball out at the 19-yard line. And then another short yardage situation around midfield that we failed to convert. So, we've got to do a better job up front and be more physical and certainly execute better.
If I can follow up, defense gave up some big plays, but also you had some moments of toughness. Talk about that.
Yeah, so defensively, we went into the game feeling like we needed to stop the run and keep the ball in front of us. And for the most part, we did that for most of the day. We limited their explosive plays, but we let them off the hook on third down. We had several untimely penalties on third down when we would have been off the field defensively, and that extended drives. And, like 2 of those 3 situations on third down, it led to touchdowns. So those were times when we could have got off the field and failed to do so with some untimely penalties.
Tony, you talked about the bad snap on the one where maybe you could have had some points, and then you guys tie the game at 10-10, 46 seconds in the half, and then ETSU is able to come down and get a touchdown there late. How big of a momentum shift was that?
Yeah, that was a tough blow right there in under 50 seconds for them to get down the field on us, and the ball was thrown in front of us. It's not like we gave one up over our head. We missed some tackles and some pursuit angles, and it got them down the field quickly, and thought we had a chance to toughen up down there in the red zone, but they were able to pick up that score right before the half, and that was a shot. That was a hit.
Landon Clark, who we've talked a lot about, certainly has had a tremendous rookie year for you. 223 and 2 touchdowns through the air, and ran for 47, but he also had a couple of turnovers in the third quarter. He was under a lot of pressure, sacked 4 times in the game. Just kind of evaluate his night.
Yeah, Landon, he can get himself out of some things. He's very athletic. We did have some success, with some of our play action game and some of our quick game, and he did a really good job with some of that, and so did our guys on the perimeter. But the 2 turnovers and it just really compounded. just our inability to really get the run game going, the pressure on the quarterback. Just wasn't our best football. It wasn't Landon's, and it just wasn't ours. So, Landon is his worst and hardest critic. So I know, what kind of week he's going to have here and how he prepares. So I'm not worried about Landon. He'll be ready to go this week.
You talked about briefly about DJ James Hamilton with the interception on that opening drive. Finishes the day with 13 tackles. Just talk about the night he had for your team.
Yeah, he had a great night. Great play on the interception. That was a big time play. And really, our back end guys, our safeties and corners, I felt like they did a really good job playing downhill on a lot of routes in front of us and made some good tackles and played physical. ETSU, they did a good job distributing the ball to the perimeter, and we were keeping it in front of us and really made some good difficult tackles in open space. So felt like on the back end, we had a lot of tackles by our DBs, and when you look at that on the stat sheet, you're like, that ain't good. Like we don't want we don't want our DBs making that many tackles, but they did a good job of distributing the ball to the perimeter, and we did a good job of tackling and knocking it down out there.
Question for you from Bob Sutton. Good morning, Bob.
Yeah, good morning. Well, we're on the topic of defensive backs. I think Tony Hart had been kind of one of your special team whizzes last year, and it looks like he's kind of. How do you evaluate him now that he's a full-time defender? It looks like.
Yeah, Tony is a really good football player. Like he is smart. He has good instincts. He's a very physical player. He's a relentless competitor. He's strong. So he can help us in a lot of ways at that boundary safety position.
He's one of those guys that has had a lot of tackles. I think a couple weeks ago he's had maybe led the team in tackles a time or two. So I guess he has a little bit of a nose for the ball.
He does. And the role he plays in that position, it's been a highly productive position. If you look back, Caleb Curtin, Cole Coleman, we've had some real talented players play that boundary safety position where you can get involved in the run game and as well as, certainly have some opportunities in the passing games. But Tony's a really good player. Those guys, they're playing gladiator football too. Like Tony Hart, DJ Hamilton, they've played every snap of the last two games. So those guys, they're durable. They're really good football players. We're thin on the back end right now defensively. We haven't been able to really get into our third down personnel groupings and packages the last two games just because we've been so thin. Those guys playing every snap though, and proud of the job they're doing.
Tony, you get to turn the page this week to CAA play, and you get to come back home, a place you haven't been a lot this season. Yeah. Just talk about the challenges that Hampton will present for you.
Yeah, we're excited about conference play. That's for sure. And that was the one thing when we talked as a team in that locker room out in Jackson City was, hey, listen, that's over. That's done. It's a new season now. It's CAA play. Hampton handed it to us last year at their place on their homecoming, so they have our full attention. They're a team that runs the ball well, especially the last couple of years here, and they're running it well again this year. Isaiah Freeman's a talented, athletic quarterback. Jaquan Snipes he ran for over 100 yards against us last year. They're big up front again, so. We know they're going to do a good job running the football.
You've, through this 4-game non-conference stretch, played some really good competition. As I touched on, 3 out of 4 on the road. Do you feel like that those 4 weeks have really prepared you for the grind to CAA play?
Yeah, I think we're ready for CAA play. We've played some really good football in the last 4 weeks, and last Saturday wasn't our best, but there's going to be growth from that. So I feel like we're in a good place here, heading into CAA play.
All right, Tony, thanks as always for the time today.